Good job. Hello, I hope you're having a beautiful day, friends. Today I kind of wanted to take a step back from bread making and have a chat with you all about homesteading while I do some quail chores. The heart of what I want to share with you today is my why. Why in my early 20s do I want to talk to the world about who I am and what I'm doing? What authority do I have to speak on these topics on my channel? To delve into that, I want to give you a little backstory. I grew up in a rural town where I thought I was completely different from my peers who enjoyed agriculture and farming since it was the traditional norm for them. I thought I was going to be the kind of person who would sprout my wings and fly as soon as I graduated high school because I was too good for small town living. But when I was 16, I needed extracurriculars for college, so I joined my high school's Future Farmers of America, or FFA club. Shout out to Mrs. Clark and Mr. Blevins if you're out there. It started as like a mere curiosity about flowers, and actually I started my photography around that time too. And I thought joining FFA would get me better shots for photography contests. But through hours and hours of training and drills, I came to love learning about other plants too. I learned about row crops, plant diseases, soil types, and different methods of farming, but I still didn't consider myself a farmer. Only farmer curious. Fast forward, I graduated high school, put my ag knowledge on the shelf, and moved on. That is, until I met my husband in college. My husband's story is a bit different than mine. He grew up working on his godfather's farm, helping to raise pigs, chickens, emus, peacocks, and a million other animals I can't think of right now. He loves telling me stories about having to fry up pig oysters for breakfast as a kid. So while he knew he always wanted to homestead, my seed of passion was quietly dormant, waiting for some rain to help it grow. It wasn't until I was older before I began to really appreciate the culture I grew up in. The kind where my grandparents lived off-grid, planted huge gardens every year, and we spent our summers sweating, having heart-to-hearts, and shelling peas in the kitchen, and snapping beans while the pressure canner was steaming up the already hot house. After having children, I realized how quickly the circle of life seems to go, and I suddenly wanted to learn all I could about the older ways of life, the ways that bind generation after generation of strong women together without ever meeting one another. I wanted to share that beautiful piece of family tradition down to my babies. I wanted them to feel the way I do when I knead dough or fry eggs in my cast iron skillet, going through the same motions my great-great-grandparents went through in order to provide for their babies. So when my husband and I finally stopped using words like someday and maybe, we began to make plans and get serious about starting to homestead. We did what any sane person would do. We turned to strangers on the internet to guide us. And what we found was extremely helpful. There is a plethora of knowledge and wisdom about homesteading out there, which is a beautiful thing in the 21st century. But one common factor that continued to stick out to me personally was that everyone homesteading on YouTube had several years, if not decades, of experience on my husband and myself. While there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm grateful for the wisdom they share, I found it difficult to reach out and find peer connections. These were all people who were very much established in their homesteading journeys. I wanted someone I could watch online and bleed across to. Someone I could feel a kinship with. Someone whose toddlers were bouncing off the walls and skipping naps the same time mine were. All the while, the chicken chores still needed done and the vegetables still needed canning all at the same time. I craved a friendship with someone my age that I could crawl the trenches with in the fresh beginnings of our homesteading journey. But what I found instead were chirping crickets. You know, I had to do the landlord special on my quail. You know, homesteading is about using what you got, and sometimes you have to do a temporary fix like that. If there's a hole, you gotta quickly patch it on up. Just give them the landlord special, they won't know any different. My main takeaway today is that I don't have all the answers. I'm not a qualified, experienced professional on homesteading. I don't know everything there is to know about homesteading, farming, homeschooling, homemaking, or even mothering. But I'm here to show you my experience, the nitty-gritty, what it looks like to be learning and growing in your role as a homesteader, farmer, or whichever hat you wear, or even just as a person. I want to share the mistakes, the crying, the laughter, the joy, and the peace I get from it. And I want to share it with you, my friend. Because for all the people who were like me out there who did not have a friend like that, I want to be that friend for you. So come along with me as we become. I hope you enjoyed this video because I enjoy you. See you next time.